Good morning, listeners of Hot Topic and Fresh News. Today, June 26, 2024, we're tracking several critical developments. A suspected hypersonic missile launched by North Korea malfunctioned and exploded midair near Wonsan. South Korea's military reports that the debris scattered as far as 250 kilometers, although, thankfully, no damages have been reported. This incident comes just before a scheduled trilateral military exercise involving the United States, South Korea, and Japan, escalating tensions in the region. Meanwhile, North Korea and Russia are deepening their military ties. Following a recent summit between Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin, the two nations signed a mutual defense pact, signaling a significant geopolitical shift. In a provocative move, North Korea has also resumed sending propaganda balloons southward, leading to a temporary shutdown of Incheon International Airport. This act of aggression was met with South Korea restarting propaganda broadcasts across the border. In military maneuvers, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un personally supervised paratroop drills, emphasizing the readiness of his forces to occupy enemy regions swiftly. This display of military prowess follows the annual U.S.-South Korean Freedom Shield drills, which have historically heightened tensions on the peninsula. Hello, listeners! This is Emily, your guide through the world's most pressing news stories.
And I'm David.
You're joining us on Hot Topic and Fresh News, bringing you the latest and most crucial updates. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay updated. Straight to the hot topics.
Could you provide more details on the failed missile launch by North Korea?
Absolutely. The missile, suspected to be hypersonic, exploded midair shortly after its launch from near Pyongyang. It disintegrated over the eastern coastal waters near Wonsan, scattering debris across a span of 250 kilometers. Interestingly, it emitted more smoke than usual, pointing to potential engine failures.
How significant is this failure ahead of the trilateral military drill involving the US, South Korea, and Japan?
It's quite significant. This missile test was clearly timed to send a message of defiance right before the regional military buildup. North Korea's vice defense minister labeled the deployment of the U.S. aircraft carrier as reckless and dangerous, escalating the rhetoric just as these strategic military exercises are about to begin.
What has been the international response to this launch?
South Korea, the United States, and Japan swiftly condemned the launch, labeling it a clear violation of United Nations Security Council resolutions. While the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command stated the missile posed no immediate threat to U.S. personnel or allies, the act itself has been denounced as destabilizing.
Switching gears, could you touch on the situation with the propaganda balloons?
Certainly. In a rather unconventional form of warfare, Pyongyang has launched trash-filled balloons into South Korea, disrupting operations at Incheon International Airport. This seems to be a tit-for-tat response to South Korean activists who sent balloons criticizing Kim Jong-un northward. Seoul retaliated by resuming loudspeaker propaganda broadcasts along the border, intensifying the psychological aspect of their conflict.
How does this reflect the overall state of relations on the Korean peninsula?
It's a stark reminder that the tensions between North and South Korea remain extremely high. These recent acts of provocation and retaliation highlight the ongoing Cold War dynamics that persist, with each side testing the other's resolve and international patience.
Could you elaborate on the recent military drills overseen by North Korean leader Kim Jong-un?
Certainly. Kim Jong-un was reported to have supervised paratroop drills aimed at quickly occupying enemy regions. This exercise demonstrated North Korea's capability to deploy airborne soldiers swiftly to take control of simulated primary military targets. The drills underscored Pyongyang's readiness for surprise wartime operations and their emphasis on realistic and scientific training methods for maximum efficiency in actual combat scenarios.
How does North Korea perceive the recent US-South Korean Freedom Shield drills?
The timing of North Korea's drills right after the Freedom Shield exercises is highly indicative. Pyongyang views these joint U.S.-South Korean operations as significant threats, responding with marked military posturing. They've even threatened appropriate responses, signaling their discomfort with the military alliance and maneuvers by Washington and Seoul.
And there was also mention of Kim Jong-un's daughter observing the drills. What do you make of that?
This is a fascinating development. Kim's decision to have his young daughter, Ju Ae, visible during such a significant military event could be interpreted as an attempt to signal the continuity of his regime. It underscores a grooming process for a future leadership role, showcasing her involvement in state affairs from a young age.
Switching back to the broader implications, have we ever considered the full consequences of these recurring tensions?
You bring up an excellent point. While we often discuss these incidents as isolated events, the cumulative effect of such military tensions can escalate unpredictably, affecting global security dynamics. Each act of military aggression adds layers to an already complex geopolitical puzzle, influencing diplomatic relations far beyond the Korean Peninsula. Thanks for tuning into Hot Topic and Fresh News today. We delved into the complex dynamics of North Korea's military activities and their broader implications. It's been insightful discussing these critical developments with you. Remember to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share our content. Your engagement helps us bring more of these analyses to you.
And speaking of engagement, who knew missile tests could lead to so much geopolitical chit-chat, right? Make sure you're here for our next broadcast. We're live every day, bringing you the freshest perspectives on the news that matters.
We're truly grateful for your continued support and enthusiasm. Looking forward to having you with us in the next episode.
Until then, keep the conversations lively and the debates friendly.
Stay in the loop, keep your eyes on the news, our channel's content will amuse.